So apparently, every single Bitcoiner is a Bond villain. I get these comments all the time. Basically, people are so triggered by Bitcoin and so ignorant about it that they literally tell me Bitcoin is a supervillain level technology that exists only to pollute the planet, boil the oceans, waste all the world's energy. If you've paid any attention to mainstream media coverage of Bitcoin, you've probably heard this before. You've probably seen the doctored images they'll put at the top of an article like this, where they show a picture of a Bitcoin mine and then they deliberately make it look like there's smog in the air, even though Bitcoin mines don't have any emissions. Yeah, all to send you the message that Bitcoin is bad for the environment. It's just imaginary internet money that's boiling the oceans and destroying the climate. But when you zoom out even just a little bit, you'll realize the entire premise of the energy argument is built on a lie. It's all a distraction. It's a complete misframing of the real issue. So in this video, I'm going to walk through exactly why that argument completely falls apart the moment you think past those doctored headlines. Why the real world impact of Bitcoin is actually way more positive than people think, and why it uses energy on purpose, and that's actually a feature, not a bug. And why the biggest risk to the planet is definitely not Bitcoin, it's actually fiat money. At first, real quick, I'm John from My Favorite Thing About Bitcoin. I discovered Bitcoin in 2014, and it's been a long, meandering journey to better understand it since then. No, I didn't hodl since Bitcoin was $400, I wish. But I started this channel with the mission of helping other people better understand and grow their conviction in Bitcoin. So here we go. Here's the starting point. The one the haters never really want to acknowledge. Bitcoin isn't just some tech gadget. Bitcoin is money, but it's not like the money we're used to using. It's money that can't be printed, can't be inflated, can't be frozen, and can't be censored. So that matters more than most people realize, because the current system is not just broken, it's designed to be broken. Governments and central banks can conjure trillions of dollars out of thin air, which inflates away your savings, and they can bail out their cronies and their buddies while you foot the bill. So it's quiet theft on a global scale, and nobody's asking your permission. So when people scream, but Bitcoin uses too much energy, well, first, they're skipping the most important question, which is, what are we getting in return for that energy? The answer is a peaceful, decentralized check on government power, a monetary system that doesn't steal from you silently, and a global network that fights back against surveillance, censorship, and monetary debasement. So if that's not worth using energy for, I don't know what is, because every other major technology on Earth uses energy too. So every time you have a technological advancement, it uses more energy than its predecessor. Cars use more energy than a horse and buggy. Planes use more energy than cars. Hospitals use a lot of energy. But we don't judge all those things based on energy alone. We ask, is the trade-off worth it? So for any criticism to be valid, you have to apply the same lens here to Bitcoin. Because when you do, you might realize Bitcoin isn't wasting energy. It's using it to do something that nothing else can. So like I said, zoom out for a second and see that all major technological advancements use more energy. Using more energy is a mark of advancement of human society. It's a mark of civilizational development. Your iPhone uses more energy than a landline, and data centers use more energy than filing cabinets. And AI, by the way, now uses more energy than Bitcoin. But nobody points at those things and calls them wasteful, because we seem to like what they're giving us in return. We apparently think they're worth the trade-off. And that's the entire point that most people completely ignore and miss when they criticize Bitcoin's energy use. They're not actually making an energy argument. They're making a moral judgment. So they don't like Bitcoin, therefore they say it shouldn't be allowed to use energy. You can apply that to any technology you don't like, by the way. Let's apply it consistently. So Christmas lights. Well, if I don't celebrate Christmas, let's just shut them all down. It's a waste of energy. If I don't like Netflix, oh, it's an energy hog. We should ban it. I don't like that people are gaming on their PCs. We don't need that. Kill the grid. Obviously, those arguments sound ridiculous. You're just morally making judgments on what technologies should be allowed to use energy based on whether or not you like them. So we intuitively understand that some things are worth the energy they consume. And the real question is not, does it use energy? The real question is, what value does it create in exchange for that energy? So anytime someone FUDs Bitcoin's energy use, you're not hearing a real environmental argument. You're just hearing a moral judgment. They've already decided they don't like Bitcoin, so they don't think it deserves to use energy. That's not a debate about emissions. It's a debate about values. but they're hiding behind the energy argument. And ultimately, they're simply ignorant about Bitcoin's value. Bitcoin takes energy and converts it into something we've never had in human history: a digital, borderless, unseizable, incorruptible money that no government controls, that no bank can censor, that no amount of political lobbying can manipulate. No bailouts, no inflation, no backdoor deals, just hard money in digital form. So if that's your trade-off, kilowatt hours in exchange for a bulletproof financial system, you better believe I'm here to say it's worth it. And for those people saying, why does it have to use so much energy? Why can't we have that tool without using the energy? Sorry, but this is the only way it works. If you want reliable, secure digital money, it has to be anchored to something real. That anchor is real world energy. Most people think that Bitcoin is just ones and zeros on a screen, like every other piece of digital data. But what makes Bitcoin different, what makes it scarce, decentralized, and secure, is that it's tied to the physical world through proof of work. That energy cost that goes into producing new Bitcoins is what keeps the system honest. Without it, it doesn't work. And a side note, this is exactly why every other crypto that isn't proof of work falls apart as money and is nothing more than, at best, a tech company, at worst, a complete scam. Because if there's no real world cost to create it, then there's nothing stopping insiders from rigging the system. That's not money. That's just another centralized company trying to issue some sort of token to dump on you and raise money. So now that you understand that the energy argument is built on a false premise to begin with, and for the most part, when people engage in that argument, we shouldn't even engage with them on the energy basis. We should just tell them, stick with what you're actually arguing, which is you don't like Bitcoin and you don't think it should be allowed to use energy. And let's argue on that front. But while we're talking about the energy piece, we might as well bust a few more myths, okay? So you've probably heard somebody say, Bitcoin uses more energy than insert whatever country, I don't know, Portugal or Argentina, which sounds super scary. It makes for a great mainstream media headline until you realize it's a false and useless comparison. Because just saying a country doesn't mean anything without context. We can do those comparisons all day. The US military uses more energy than other entire countries. In the US, tumble dryers use more energy than Bitcoin miners. So why aren't they trying to take away your tumble dryer? You could dry those same clothes on a clothesline outside your house and stop boiling the oceans. Holiday lights in the US burn more electricity than some developing nations. But nobody's out here trying to cancel Christmas. Why? Because again, sane people, rational people understand pointing to energy use without any context is meaningless. So let's add some context. Bitcoin's annual energy usage is estimated somewhere around 100 to 150 terawatt hours per year globally. So you know what's already outpacing that? AI. Between training large language models, running data centers, scaling global infrastructure, AI is rapidly becoming one of the biggest energy sucks in the tech world. So wouldn't you think all the headlines would say, AI is going to use all the world's energy, boil the oceans, and take your job in the process? But nobody seems to care. You see those headlines about Bitcoin literally saying that it's estimated to use the entire world's energy, but you don't see those same headlines about AI. Why not? Because apparently enough people think AI is valuable. But more likely, the real reason you don't see those headlines is big tech companies have the centralized power to push the narratives they want to see in the media. Bitcoin has no centralized marketing or PR department to influence media coverage. But whether you love or hate AI, doesn't matter. The point is, AI uses more energy than Bitcoin. It's on pace to use a lot more. It's not slowing down. So if you're only mad at Bitcoin for using electricity, but you're chill about ChatGPT and Netflix and Alexa and their Christmas lights, that's not an environmental position. It's blatant bias. You're LARPing and virtue signaling. The truth is that Bitcoin is remarkably efficient for what it actually accomplishes. It runs a global monetary network, the most secure, largest computer network in the world, with zero central authority, with 100% auditability. Bitcoin is designed to replace a system that's been quietly robbing you for decades. And guess what else? I'm about to give you the major plot twist that you never see in the mainstream media headlines, why Bitcoin is uniquely positioned to actually help the environment. But first, real quick, if you're liking this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the video. There's a QR code. You can zap me sats on the Lightning Network if you're finding value in this, and share this with somebody who spreads Bitcoin energy FUD. All right, if you really want to make the Bitcoin climate critics' heads explode, tell them this. Bitcoin mining isn't just less harmful than people think. it can actually help reduce emissions. Believe it or not, the Bitcoin network has the ability to be the first network in the world that mitigates more emissions than it creates. So here's how that works. Bitcoin mining is location agnostic. That means miners can set up shop anywhere in the world, even in the middle of nowhere, and that unlocks something that no other industry can do at scale. They can go directly to sources of major pollution, like methane, for example. So methane leaks out of oil fields, landfills, and agricultural operations all over the world. And when methane escapes into the atmosphere, it's supposedly over 80 times worse than CO2 over a 20-year period. So usually companies just burn it off and flare it, or worse, they let it leak into the atmosphere. But Bitcoin miners are now capturing that methane and converting it into electricity to mine Bitcoin. So what does that mean? A pollutant that was going to be released into the atmosphere is now being captured and turned into economic value. And in many cases, the Bitcoin mining operation actually emits less carbon than if the methane had just leaked, which is insane. No other industry has this incentive structure. Oil companies don't profit from reducing emissions. Governments don't move fast. NGOs can't scale, but Bitcoin miners are financially rewarded to find stranded or wasted energy and put it to use. So yes, Bitcoin uses energy, but it's the only energy intensive industry on the planet that can become net negative in its emissions, not because of regulations, but because of actual financial incentives. So that's not some greenwashing PR spin. It's literally embedded in the incentives of the protocol. And the more the network grows, the stronger those incentives get. And the more and more people and companies are actually putting this to use in the real world. Remember earlier when I said all technological advancement involves greater energy usage? Every major leap in technology requires more energy. Cars, planes, computers, AI. That's why developed nations always use more energy than developing ones. And unless you're going to tell the developing world that they have to stop developing completely today, sorry, too late, we're using all the energy you can't have anymore. It's inevitable that their energy use is going to rise too. So the question isn't how much energy we use. Anytime you hear that argument, it's a red herring. Again, it's a moral judgment about what the energy is being used on. Use less energy is always virtue signaling BS. It's akin to saying, stop developing, stop evolving as a species. It's not going to happen. Therefore, the key is, where does the energy come from? How clean or dirty is it? And how do we make more of it? Especially if you care about the environment, how do we make more of the clean kind? And another misconception that the energy critics of Bitcoin have is the idea that, oh, if we just got rid of Bitcoin, we'd get rid of those emissions. But again, they're flat out wrong. That's a misunderstanding of how energy works. Most of Bitcoin's carbon-heavy mining happens on energy sources that are already in high demand, that are using on-grid power. So there's other bidders for that same on-grid power. If Bitcoin stops bidding for that energy, someone else will. The emissions don't disappear, but more and more, Bitcoin mining is shifting to the other kind of energy, which is off-grid, stranded, or non-rival energy. The stuff nobody else is using. Energy that's being produced and completely going to waste. Miners are setting up shop next to hydro dams, flare gas sites, and remote renewables, places where the energy would otherwise be wasted. So deleting Bitcoin doesn't delete emissions, and ironically, it might actually slow down investment in cleaner, underutilized energy sources. And, of course, guess what else never makes it into the mainstream media headlines? Bitcoin mining is going green faster than almost any other industry. So if you care about that kind of thing, recent estimates suggest that between 50 and 55% of Bitcoin mining is already powered by renewable energy sources like hydro and solar and wind. And it's not just about optics, it's about actual incentives. If you want that trend to be sustainable, you don't want it to be dependent only on political will or the political climate or the government subsidies. You want it to be financially motivated. You see, Bitcoin mining is cutthroat, and Bitcoin miners are like the apex predators of the energy market. They must ruthlessly optimize for one thing: cheap, abundant power. That means they gravitate towards remote hydropower plants with excess capacity during rainy seasons, solar farms with energy spikes during daylight that don't match peak demand, wind turbines that are spinning in the middle of nowhere with no one around to use the electricity. Normally, that energy just goes to waste. But Bitcoin miners step in to buy that energy, offering a floor price for that wasted energy and making those projects economically viable. Making them economically viable also means incentivizing the build out of more of them. Miners can act like a buffer system for the energy grid, smoothing out demand and monetizing supply either before it gets connected to the grid or that would otherwise be dumped or curtailed. So when critics say Bitcoin is killing the planet, they're completely missing the full picture. Bitcoin isn't just using energy, it's helping reshape how we produce and consume it. It's providing demand for renewables before they're fully integrated into the grid. It's incentivizing cleaner, more resilient energy systems. And it's doing it without waiting for legislation and subsidies and global climate accords. So now you understand why the energy FUD is wrong on so many levels. But at the end of the day, there's only one question that actually matters. Is Bitcoin worth the energy that it uses? Not how much energy does it use, not whether it uses more than your favorite app, but whether the trade-off is worth it. Because if you think the current system is working just fine, with central banks printing money at will, inflation eroding your savings, governments tracking and freezing transactions they don't like, then yeah, you're going to say Bitcoin's completely unnecessary. I love the current system. But if you think, just maybe, we need an alternative option, if you think it's a good thing to have the existence of a money that no central authority can control, that protects individual rights and freedoms, that gives people in broken economies a way to store wealth, that can't be shut down, inflated, or manipulated, then Bitcoin is not just worth the energy, it might be the single best use of energy humanity has ever discovered. And remember, Bitcoin is totally voluntary. Nobody's forced to use it. Nobody's forced to mine it. Nobody's forced to believe in it. But yet, millions of people around the world do, with no CEO, no marketing department promoting it, no government backing it. So the next time someone says Bitcoin is killing the planet, ask them, compared to what? Because if the alternative is unchecked fiat debasement and central surveillance and a financial system that punishes savers and rewards debtors, then yeah, Bitcoin might be a little more valuable than tumble drying your tidy whities. Because clearly the debate is not about energy. It's about value. And once you understand what Bitcoin actually does, you flip the conversation on its head. It's not how can we justify the energy usage? It's why haven't we given more of our energy to fixing a broken money system? Because when you fix the money and you fix the incentives, you get a shot at fixing everything else. So yeah, Bitcoin uses energy proudly. Don't shy away from that fact because securing freedom, preserving value, fighting monetary debasement are worth the watts. So if you found this video helpful, share it with someone who's still stuck on the Bitcoin is bad for the environment take. And if this got you thinking differently about energy and money, wait till you see what happens when you put gold under a similar spotlight. Click here to watch that video. It'll mess with your whole definition of value. And as always, you never forget, Bitcoin is inevitable.